Imagine finding a simple 2009 Lincoln penny and realizing it's worth $2 million. Sounds crazy, right? But what if I told you that very coin could be hiding in your loose change, your old coffee jar, or that dusty box of coins sitting in your closet? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll know exactly what to look for, and you might just discover that a tiny copper coin could change your life forever. It all begins in 2009, a year that seemed ordinary, but for coin collectors, it marked the centennial celebration of Abraham Lincoln's birth. To honor 100 years of the Lincoln cent, the U.S. Mint released 4 special designs, each depicting a different chapter of Lincoln's life. From his humble log cabin beginnings, to his rise in Illinois, to his presidency in Washington, D.C., these coins were more than pocket change. They were miniature time capsules. But hidden among the billions minted, something unusual happened, something that would go unnoticed for years. Now, imagine this. You're sorting through a handful of old pennies. Most are dull, scratched, just the usual copper. But one catches your eye. It has no mint mark. You flip it over, and it feels different. Maybe it's the shine, maybe it's the detail. That 2009 no mint mark penny is where the mystery begins. See, most 2009 pennies were minted either in Denver, with a small d, or in Philadelphia, which typically leaves no mint mark at all. So, at first glance, a no mint mark penny doesn't sound rare. But this is where it gets interesting. Some of these 2009 no mint mark Lincoln pennies were struck with a special composition, either from experimental blanks or early proof dies, resulting in a few coins with remarkable detail, satin-like finishes, and even double die errors. These are the coins that have stunned collectors, with one verified example selling for an astonishing $2 million. Think about that. A penny, the smallest coin in your hand, worth more than a mansion, a sports car, or a lifetime of vacations. First, look closely at the design. Focus on Lincoln's eye, the lettering in Liberty, and the year 2009. Any doubling, where the letters or numbers seem slightly shadowed or layered, could be a double die strike. That's a huge red flag for rarity. Next, pay attention to the finish. Some 2009 pennies have a unique satin sheen or slightly smoother feel compared to regular circulation strikes. If yours gleams differently under the light, it might not be an ordinary penny at all. The weight. Regular Lincoln pennies from 2009 should weigh about 2.5 grams. But certain rare varieties, struck on leftover planchets or experimental metal, can weigh slightly more or less. That tiny difference could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. Imagine finding one of these coins in your change from a gas station. You drop it in your pocket, completely unaware that you're carrying a $2 million piece of American history. That's the thrill of coin collecting. The idea that incredible fortune can be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right pair of eyes to see it. The answer lies in the mint's chaos that year. Due to economic struggles, fewer pennies were made, and production quirks began slipping through. Some dies were repolished, others reused improperly, leading to subtle variations that weren't noticed until years later. Collectors who understood what they were seeing began quietly buying up these coins, long before the rest of the world realized their true value. Picture an older man sitting at his kitchen table, sorting through a coffee can of pennies. He's been doing it for years, just a hobby, nothing more. Then one night, he spots something unusual on his 2009 penny. He posts a blurry photo online, asking if it's anything special. A week later, a professional numismatist calls him back and says, "Sir, you might want to sit down. That coin is worth $2 million. True story, quiet, simple, but life-changing. These stories don't happen by luck alone. They happen because someone paid attention. Someone looked closer. And that's the real message here. You don't need a degree in numismatics. You just need curiosity, patience, and good lighting. Every coin tells a story. Lincoln's penny tells the story of an America rebuilding, evolving, celebrating its history, and accidentally producing one of the most valuable modern coins ever found. Every so often, collectors uncover yet another 2009 Lincoln cent with strange traits, doubled lettering, missing details, or unusual metallic tones. The market reacts instantly. Prices skyrocket. People who once ignored pocket change start checking every coin like detectives, chasing that once-in-a-lifetime discovery. A penny that can buy a house, pay off debts, and rewrite someone's future. That's not just a coin. That's hope made of copper that you won't know unless you check. Start by gathering your old change, those jars of coins that have been collecting dust for years. Lay them out under a good light. Grab a magnifying glass if you have one. Focus on the 2009s. Check the design. It should feature one of the four reverses: the log cabin, the Illinois years, the professional life design, or the presidency version. Then, look for errors, doubled dies, die cracks, weak strikes, or unusual coloring that if you find one that stands out, don't clean it. Ever. Cleaning can destroy a coin's value. Instead, store it carefully and have it professionally graded. Even a small variation in detail can mean the difference between $1 and $1 million payday. Let's reset for a moment, because I want this to sink in. The 2009 penny wasn't just made to commemorate Lincoln's story. It ended up creating stories of its own. Stories of people who went from pocket change to life-changing wealth. And each of those stories started with a simple question: what if this penny is different? We all dream of discovering something valuable, something rare. For some, it's an old painting in the attic. For others, it's a baseball card or an antique watch. But for you, it might just be a coin you've overlooked your entire life. The beauty of this treasure hunt is that it's open to everyone. You don't need to travel, you don't need to dig. It's right there in your pocket. And every time you get change, you're holding a chance that tonight. When you empty your wallet or count your coins, take one more look at that 2009 penny. Tilt it under the light. Study the details, because hidden in those tiny grooves might be the key to your own million-dollar discovery. That's right. A single 1985 Lincoln penny with no mint mark has stunned collectors across the nation, hiding in plain sight for decades, and it could be sitting in your pocket right now. Think about that for a second. How many times have you tossed pennies into a jar, slid them across a counter, or ignored them on the sidewalk? What if one of those little copper coins could change your life forever? The story of this million-dollar penny begins quietly, almost accidentally, inside the Philadelphia Mint. In 1985, millions of Lincoln cents rolled off the presses, each one bearing Abraham Lincoln's familiar face. Most were ordinary copper-plated zinc cents, worth just a cent. But a tiny number, a whisper of a batch, were different. Something went wrong during the minting process. These coins were struck without a mint mark. Now, normally, Philadelphia pennies didn't carry mint marks back then, but that's not the mystery. The real twist is that a few of these coins were struck on the wrong metal planchets. Instead of being copper-plated zinc, they were struck on solid bronze, a leftover metal from the early 1980s transition period. And that's where the magic begins. Bronze coins in 1985 were not supposed to exist. By that year, the U.S. Mint had long switched over to the cheaper zinc-based composition to save money. But somehow, a few bronze planchets slipped through the cracks, relics of an earlier time, and found their way into the presses. What came out were rare 1985 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies that weigh just a bit more than usual, have a richer color, and are worth, to collectors, more than $1 million today. Now, imagine being the person who finds one. Picture going through your change one night, half asleep, and realizing something looks different. You grab a scale, and that little penny weighs 3.1 grams instead of the usual 2.5. Your heart starts racing. You hold it to the light. It gleams darker, older, almost alive. You start searching online, and your jaw drops when you read, rare 1985 bronze penny, worth up to $1.2 million. Every collector's dream starts this way. A small discovery that changes everything. Here's how. First, grab a scale that measures in grams. A normal 1985 penny should weigh around 2.5 grams. But if yours tips the scale at about 3.1 grams, you may have a bronze planchet penny. Second, look at the color. Bronze coins tend to have a deeper, almost golden red tone, while zinc pennies look brighter and shinier. Third, listen carefully, literally. Drop it gently on a table. Zinc cents make a dull tick. Bronze cents ring with a sharper, higher tone. It sounds crazy, but even the sound of a coin can be worth $1 million. Now, what makes this coin even more fascinating is that no one knows exactly how many exist. Some say only a handful. Others believe fewer than 10 survive the Mint's strict quality checks. The mystery deepens when you realize that even Mint employees couldn't trace exactly how these bronze planchets slipped through. It's like a ghost of the past haunting the machines of 1985. Collectors have been chasing this coin for years, and a few verified examples have changed hands for staggering sums. Auction houses have seen collectors battle it out, raising paddles and pushing prices into the seven-figure range. Why? Because this isn't just a penny. It's a symbol of imperfection, of luck, and of hidden treasure in plain sight. You see, coins like this remind us that value isn't always visible. Sometimes, greatness hides under years of dust, dirt, and indifference. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about a rare coin. It's about the possibility that something extraordinary is waiting right where you least expect it. People just like you have found million-dollar coins in their spare change. One man in Pennsylvania almost threw his coin away, only to have it appraised later for hundreds of thousands. Another collector discovered his penny while sorting through old coffee cans in his garage. So take this as a sign. Go check your drawers. Pull out that old coin jar. Look through your childhood collections, the dusty boxes in the attic, or the spare change in your car. Because if you stumble across a 1985 penny with no mint mark, weighing 3.1 grams, you might be holding one of the rarest modern coins in U.S. history. Let's reset for a moment. You've probably handled thousands of pennies in your lifetime. You've paid for gas, groceries, coffee, all with coins that look just like this one. But how many times have you really looked at a penny? The face of Lincoln, the date 1985, no mint mark. That's your first clue. Then the weight. Then the sound. Every small detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and $1 million. It's the ultimate treasure hunt, right in your own home. Anyone can play. You don't need to be rich. You don't need fancy equipment. You just need curiosity and a little patience. That's the real secret behind every great coin discovery. It's not luck, it's attention. The world is full of stories about people overlooking treasures. The 1985 no mint mark penny is proof that sometimes history slips into the smallest corners of our lives. That's what keeps collectors searching. That's what fuels the excitement. The idea that tomorrow, you might find something that changes everything. So, tonight, when you empty your pockets or clean out that change cup in your car, take a closer look. Feel the weight. Notice the tone. Study the color. You never know. That old penny could be your golden ticket. But history has shown us time and again that the most valuable treasures often hide in plain sight. Now, before you roll your eyes and toss that penny back into the tip jar, listen closely. Because the 2014 Lincoln penny has a story that stunned collectors, confused experts, and turned ordinary Americans into millionaires overnight. This isn't just a rumor or a clickbait headline. It's a coin with a secret that could literally change your life. Back in 2014, the Denver Mint was pumping out billions of pennies. Nothing unusual there. But in the middle of that massive production run, something strange happened. A tiny, almost invisible minting error slipped through. It wasn't caught, it wasn't recorded, and only a few examples ever made it into circulation. Those few pennies now have collectors fighting tooth and nail to get their hands on one. And one verified specimen sold for over $1.3 million. That you're probably wondering, what kind of mistake could make a modern penny worth that kind of money? The answer lies in the details. The 2014 Lincoln penny looks almost perfect at first, but the devil's in the details. And the details are where the fortune lies. Here's what you need to look for. The letter D, that tiny mint mark just below the year, is the Denver Mint's mark. On the rare error version, the D is slightly doubled, almost as if it was struck twice. Under magnification, you can see a faint shadow, a ghost image of the mint mark. That's your first clue, but there's more. The word Liberty on the left side of the coin often shows a doubling effect, especially on the letters B and E. It's subtle, so subtle that many people have spent years passing it around without noticing. And then there's the finish. The ultra-rare 2014 error penny has a slightly glossier, almost proof-like shine, even though it was never meant to be a proof coin. By this point, most collectors' hearts start racing. Because if you spot all those details together, that double D mint mark, the faint doubling on Liberty, and that unusual shine, you're holding something that's not just rare. You're holding a life-changing discovery. I want you to picture this, a regular guy from Kansas sorting through his coin jar one weekend. He notices a penny that just looks different. He tosses it under a small magnifier he got for 10 bucks online. The mint mark looks strange. He posts a picture in a coin forum, and within hours, collectors are flooding his inbox with offers. The next thing he knows, he's standing in front of a coin dealer, shaking as he's handed a check worth more than the house he lives in. All because of one penny from 2014. Maybe, but these stories are real. They've happened before, and they'll happen again. The 2014 D penny might not scream wealth. It's small, copper-colored, and ordinary. But that's the beauty of it. You never know what treasure you're holding until you look closer. Now, here's the part most people miss: the weight. Regular 2014 pennies should weigh about 2.5 grams. But the million-dollar error penny sometimes tips slightly above that, 3.1 grams or more, because of an off-planchet strike, meaning it was struck on a leftover metal blank that shouldn't have been used in 2014. That difference in weight is what sets it apart. So grab a digital scale, because this is where reality meets fortune. Imagine realizing your pocket change contains something worth more than your car, your bills, and maybe even your mortgage. It's not about luck, it's about paying attention. Every coin tells a story, and this one tells a story of a mistake so tiny, yet so valuable, it turned heads in the numismatic world. Some versions of the 2014 D penny have slightly misaligned edges, what collectors call an off-center strike. If you notice that the rim isn't perfectly even, that could be your golden ticket. Combine that with the doubled mint mark, and you've got something collectors would pay a small fortune for. Pennies are the most overlooked coins in America. They're tossed in drawers, jars, car cup holders. They fall between couch cushions. People don't even want them in change anymore. But one of those forgotten coins might just be a million-dollar penny waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Well, coin dealers don't always want stories like this going viral. The rarer the coin, the more control they have over the market. But when a coin like this surfaces, the truth gets out, and people start looking. That's when collectors, small-town pickers, and everyday dreamers start finding the unthinkable that lets reset again. Close your eyes for a second and imagine holding that penny in your hand. Feel its weight, the worn ridges, the years of circulation. It's been through pockets, vending machines, maybe even across the country. And after all those years, it lands in your hand. A piece of American history worth over $1 million. That's not just money. That's a story, a legacy, a reminder that sometimes life's biggest rewards come from the smallest places. Every collector started somewhere. A handful of coins, a bit of curiosity, and a sense of wonder. The 2014 D penny is proof that even in our modern age of machines and precision, mistakes still happen, and those mistakes can make people rich. So if you're watching this right now, grab a magnifying glass, grab your coin jar, and start looking. Because it's not about what you find immediately, it's about learning to see what others overlook. Check every 2014 penny with that D mint mark. Look for the doubling. Weigh it. Examine the edges. Compare the shine. Because one of these days, someone is going to pull one out of circulation again. And when they do, the news will spread like wildfire. So next time you get change at the grocery store or find a penny on the sidewalk, don't walk past it. Pick it up. Because that small copper coin could be the ticket to your million-dollar moment. You're digging through your old change jar, just another ordinary evening, when you spot a dull brown penny from the year 2000. You almost toss it aside. It's just a penny, right? But what if I told you that one small coin, a 2000 D Lincoln penny, has been sold for a staggering $1.4 million? That's not a typo. A penny worth over $1 million. It sounds impossible, but this coin exists. And the story behind it will make you look at every single penny in your possession differently. Because the truth is, this incredible piece of copper slipped through the cracks of the US Mint, unnoticed for years, until one collector stumbled upon it by pure accident. Let's go back to where it all started. The Denver Mint in the year 2000. The new millennium had just begun. The Mint was producing billions of Lincoln pennies, each stamped with that tiny D mark under the date. Most were ordinary. But among those billions, a handful were struck with a freak combination of errors that turned pocket change into treasure. Now, imagine you're one of the mint workers that day. The machines are roaring, pressing out thousands of coins per minute. But something goes wrong. The die, the metal stamp that strikes the design, gets misaligned. Or maybe it's a leftover die from the previous year. Maybe it's been polished too much. What results is a coin that doesn't look like any other 2000 D penny. It's slightly off. The details are sharper or weaker. The color of the metal looks different. And yet, it slips right through into circulation. For years, nobody notices. These pennies blend in, passed from hand to hand, stuffed into drawers, lost in couch cushions. Until one day, a collector in Colorado buys a bag of mixed coins from a garage sale. He's not expecting much, but as he's sorting them under a magnifying glass, one penny catches his eye. The D mint mark looks odd. The strike is unusually crisp, and the color seems brighter, almost golden. His heart starts racing. He checks the weight. Normal Lincoln pennies after 1982 should weigh about 2.5 grams. They're made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. But this one, it weighs 3.1 grams, solid copper. That's not supposed to happen after 1982. He can't believe it. A 2000 D penny struck on a bronze planchet, an old leftover blank that somehow got reused 18 years after it was discontinued. He sends it for authentication. Experts confirm it. It's genuine, one of only a handful ever discovered. When it goes to auction, the bidding is fierce. It starts in the thousands, then jumps to hundreds of thousands, and finally ends at $1.4 million. But here's where the mystery deepens. If one slipped through, there could be more. The Denver Mint produced billions of pennies that year, and nobody knows exactly how many of those rare copper planchet errors might still be out there. Now, let's talk about how you can identify this potential fortune. First, pick up your 2000 penny and check under the date. If there's a D mint mark, you've got the Denver issue, the one we're talking about. Then, test its weight. The regular zinc pennies weigh 2.5 grams. If yours weighs closer to 3.1 grams, that's your first clue you might have something rare. Next, look closely at the color. Regular 2000 D pennies tend to have a bright, orangish tone when new, but they dull quickly. The copper error pennies, however, have a deeper, reddish-brown hue, that true old copper look. Under good lighting, you'll see it immediately. Also, check for any doubling in the lettering or numbers. Some 2000 D pennies show a slight double die effect. The letters Liberty or the date may look like they have a faint shadow. That can increase the value even further, sometimes into the tens of thousands on its own. And don't overlook the edges. A real copper planchet will have a smoother, more solid rim. Zinc pennies often show tiny bubbling or wear faster at the edges because of the thin copper coating. Collectors today are hunting for these coins everywhere. Yard sales, estate boxes, even old coffee cans of change. Think about it. The penny was supposed to be the least valuable coin, a throwaway. Yet now, one of them is worth more than most people's cars, even homes. It's like finding a golden needle in a haystack. But the haystack is your own loose change, and there's something poetic about that. Something that reminds us that even the smallest, most overlooked things can hide extraordinary value. Just like life, sometimes the richest rewards come from the things we ignore every day. You're sitting at your kitchen table with a simple magnifying glass, flipping through a pile of pennies. Most look the same, dull, scratched, ordinary. But then, one catches your eye. It feels heavier, older somehow. You check the scale, 3.1 grams. Your heart skips. You compare it to another penny. It's different. You see that small D under the year 2000. Could it be? Could you be holding $1 million coin? That's how these stories begin. Not with professionals or museums, but with ordinary people who simply paid attention. People like you. People who believe that luck still exists, that fortune can come from the most unexpected places. Next time you see a 2000 D penny, don't pass it up. Weigh it, study it, and look for that warm copper tone. Because you never know when that one simple coin will change everything. That it's not just about the money. The $1.4 million would be a pretty good reason to check your spare change. It's about the thrill of discovery, the hunt, and the possibility that something extraordinary is hiding in plain sight. Experts believe a few of these 2000 D copper pennies were mixed into rolls and sent to banks all across the country. That means one could still be sitting in a cash drawer at your local store or jingling around in your car's cup holder right now. But sitting right there, looking completely ordinary, is a coin that could make you a millionaire. A 1994 Lincoln penny with no mint mark. A coin that collectors whisper about. A coin that has sold for up to $1.5 million. And the crazy part? Most people have no idea they've ever held one in their hands. It all started back in 1994, a year most people remember for movies, sports, and gas prices under $1. But for the US Mint, it was a year when something strange happened, something that slipped past their tightest controls. Somewhere, in the production chaos, a batch of Lincoln pennies left the mint without a mint mark. No P for Philadelphia, no D for Denver, nothing. Just Lincoln's calm face, the date 1994, and silence where a mark should have been. Now here's where it gets mysterious. No one knows exactly how many of these slipped through. Some experts say it was just a handful. Others believe there could be hundreds still out there, tucked away in jars, drawers, or the back of old wallets. The mint never confirmed it. Collectors argue about it to this day. And that uncertainty is what makes this coin so electrifying. Imagine if that very penny is sitting right now in a coffee can in your garage. You pick it up, squint at the date, 1994, and you don't see any mint mark below the year. Your heart starts to race. That's when you realize this tiny piece of copper could be worth more than your car, maybe even your house. Here's how you spot one. Take a regular 1994 penny and look closely, just below the date on the front, near Lincoln's shoulder. You'll usually see a small D or P. If that space is completely blank, smooth, and unaltered, no faint trace of a letter, then you might have something special. But there's a catch. Many people have tried to fake it by sanding off the mint mark. A genuine no mint mark coin will show a perfect, untouched surface, as if it was never engraved there to begin with. Under magnification, it looks clean, smooth, and naturally struck. When experts found the first verified 1994 no mint mark penny, it sent shockwaves through the collecting world. Dealers didn't know what to make of it. Auctions erupted. Prices skyrocketed. One collector reportedly sold his find for over $1.5 million. It was like a hidden lottery ticket disguised as pocket change. And here's what makes this story emotional. For some, it's not just about the money. It's about the thrill of discovery. Picture a retired mechanic in Ohio going through a box of coins his late father left him and finding this very penny. It wasn't shiny. It wasn't perfect. But when the appraiser confirmed it was authentic, he broke down. That little coin was his father's legacy, and now it was worth more than a lifetime of savings. If you've ever thought your change is worthless, think again. Every coin has a story, and some stories are worth a fortune. So the next time you see a 1994 penny, stop. Don't just toss it back into your pocket. Get a magnifying glass, check below that date, and look for that missing mint mark. And let's not forget, even among these rare finds, condition is everything. If yours still has its original shine, with sharp details on Lincoln's face and clear lettering, it can multiply in value. A flawless one in mint condition could easily fetch close to $1 million on today's market. Even a slightly worn example could bring in thousands. Now, imagine turning that lucky find into a moment that changes your life. Paying off your mortgage, helping your kids or grandkids go to college, maybe even buying that classic car you've always wanted. All from a penny you almost overlooked. It's because rarity drives demand. Collectors chase what others can't find. The fewer that exist, the higher the value climbs. It's basic economics, but with a thrilling twist of luck and history. Think about it. Every time you hand over a penny, you're touching a tiny piece of America's story. The Lincoln Memorial on the back, the portrait on the front, they've seen decades of change, both in our pockets and our lives. But once in a while, one of those coins becomes a symbol of something bigger. A reminder that even the smallest, most overlooked things can hold unimaginable value. So take this as a sign. Don't underestimate what's in your change jar. Because once you find that smooth, markless 1994 penny, everything changes. You're no longer just someone with spare change. You're someone who found history, luck, and fortune all in one. But what if I told you one of those little copper-colored coins, one without a mint mark, struck in 1991, could secretly be worth over $1 million? Yes, $1 million hiding in plain sight, tucked in change jars, drawers, and old coffee cans across America. Now, before you rush to check your pockets, you need to understand the incredible story behind this unmarked Lincoln penny, a coin that slipped through the cracks of history and became one of the most mysterious treasures in modern coin collecting. In 1991, the United States Mint was running at full speed, producing billions of pennies. Most were made in Philadelphia, but something unusual happened that year. A small batch of coins left the mint without any mint mark at all. Normally, pennies made in Philadelphia have no mint mark, and that's standard. But these particular coins weren't just any no mint mark pieces. They carried microscopic details that didn't match the standard production. Their die was slightly different. The imprint of Lincoln's portrait sharper and deeper, and the surface finish had a strange, almost mirror-like luster. For years, collectors ignored them. After all, a 1991 penny with no mint mark just seemed normal. But then came a discovery that would change everything. A man in Illinois sold his 1991 no mint mark penny for nearly $1 million after it was authenticated to be struck on a planchet mint for a different year. The metal composition was slightly off, and the coin's weight didn't match the standard zinc-copper ratio introduced in the early 1980s. Let's start with the basics. Take any 1991 penny. Look right below the date. If there's no mint mark, you're already in the right ballpark. But the key is in the details. The genuine rare one will have a deep, almost proof-like shine, the kind of finish you only see on special mint sets. It's smoother, reflective, and sharper in its engraving. Lincoln's cheekbone appears slightly more pronounced, and the edge of his coat is cleaner. Now, here's the real test. Grab a small scale that measures in grams. A regular 1991 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams if it's the modern zinc version. But this rare coin, the $1 Million Mystery, weighs closer to 3.1 grams, which means it was struck on a copper planchet from years before. That difference might not sound like much, but in the world of coins, it's like finding a diamond in a pile of glass. Collectors started whispering about it in online forums and conventions. People began weighing every 1991 penny they could find. One collector even said he spent an entire weekend at his kitchen table surrounded by rolls of pennies, a magnifying glass in one hand and a cup of cold coffee in the other. He didn't find the $1 Million coin, but he did find 2 transitional error pennies that paid for a family vacation. The fascinating thing about this coin isn't just its value, it's the mystery behind its creation. How did a 1982 style copper planchet make it into a 1991 batch? Some say it was a mint mix-up during the changeover of metal stocks. Others believe a mint worker might have intentionally struck a few as a test. But no one really knows for sure. That uncertainty, that whisper of a secret, is what gives this penny its power. Every couple of years, another one surfaces. Sometimes from an old collection, sometimes found in a child's coin jar. One was even discovered at a flea market mixed with common pocket change. Imagine the shock of handing over a single penny for a knickknack, only to realize later you gave away a coin worth $1 million. Let that sink in for a moment. A single cent, 1 penny, something most people don't even bother to pick up off the sidewalk anymore, could change someone's life. That's not just money, that's destiny hiding in plain sight. Many 1991 pennies look similar, but only those struck on the older copper planchets have that special value. Look for a rich reddish-brown color, heavier weight, and that distinctive luster. If you find one, do not clean it. Cleaning can instantly destroy its value. Keep it in a protective sleeve, handle it carefully by the edges, and get it professionally graded by a trusted company like PCGS or NGC. But here's the truth. People hit the jackpot every year with coins they didn't even know they had. One man found his rare penny sitting in a jar that had been untouched since the 1990s. Another found one in a parking lot. These stories are real, and they remind us that treasure isn't always buried underground. Sometimes, it's sitting right under your nose. There's a strange satisfaction in the hunt. Each coin you check connects you to history, to the hands it passed through, to the mint that struck it, to the country that's changed so much since 1991. It's not just a search for money. It's a search for a story, and that's what makes this hobby so addictive. That thrill of possibility. The idea that any moment could be the moment. Maybe you've walked past your fortune 100 times already. Maybe it's lying in your dresser drawer, waiting for someone with the curiosity to look just a little closer. Collectors who've been in the game for decades say this. The people who find the rarest coins aren't the ones who know everything. They're the ones who pay attention to the smallest details. So grab a magnifying glass. Grab that dusty jar of change. You never know what secrets your coins might be keeping. Because one day, someone's going to find another 1991 no mint mark penny, one that will sell again for over $1 million. And when that day comes, the headlines will explode, collectors will go wild, and once again, the humble penny will remind us that history is worth more than gold. So go ahead. Look at every 1991 penny you find. Hold it up to the light. Weigh it, study it, and imagine the story behind it. Imagine finding a simple brown penny that could buy you a mansion, a sports car, and still leave you with a fortune in the bank. A penny that looks so ordinary, you might have spent one just like it at a gas station without thinking twice. But this one's different. Because the 1970 no mint mark Lincoln penny has shocked the coin world by being worth an unbelievable $1.7 million. Now, let's rewind. Back to 1970, the world was changing fast. The Beatles were breaking up, the moon landing was still fresh in everyone's memory, and millions of pennies were being minted in Philadelphia. But in the middle of that massive production, something strange happened. A small batch of pennies, barely noticeable to the naked eye, came out just slightly different. Different enough to make collectors lose their minds 50 years later. The mystery of the 1970 no mint mark Lincoln penny begins with one of the most overlooked details in coin collecting, the absence of a mint mark. Normally, pennies from Denver carry a small D under the date, but those minted in Philadelphia? They're blank. Nothing beneath the numbers. Most people never notice it. But here's the twist. Not all 1970 no mint mark pennies are valuable. Only a rare few, struck under peculiar conditions, turned into seven-figure treasures. Imagine holding a handful of change, maybe from your car's cup holder, and seeing that familiar 1970 date. You flip it in your fingers, not realizing you're staring at $1 million secret. These rare 1970 no mint mark pennies are not just old, they're anomalies. They have slight doubling in their inscriptions. Look at Liberty. Look at In God We Trust. The letters appear to shimmer, almost ghost-like, doubled ever so faintly. That doubling, combined with their flawless copper tone and their lack of a mint mark, makes them the holy grail for collectors. Now, think about that for a second. Something so small, so overlooked, could change your life forever. There's something poetic about that, isn't there? The idea that a single penny could turn into $1 million. It feels like destiny hiding in your pocket. The backstory gets even more mysterious. In 1970, as the U.S. Mint was transitioning equipment and refining the Lincoln cents die design, a few die pairs were misaligned or accidentally reused from earlier production runs. That created what we now call the 1970 double die obverse penny, a version that shows slight doubling on Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions. When that error went unnoticed and those coins entered circulation, nobody thought twice. But decades later, collectors began to find them, and prices skyrocketed by the early 2000s. One pristine example of this no mint mark 1970 Lincoln penny sold at auction for over $1.7 million. That's not a typo. One penny, worth more than most homes in America. Since then, every coin hunter, collector, and curious soul has kept an eye out for the elusive 1970 no mint mark penny. Here's what you look for. First, turn the coin under a light. The doubling effect is most visible when the coin catches light at an angle. Focus on the word Liberty and on the motto, In God We Trust. If you see faint, doubled outlines of the letters, that's your first sign. Then check the date. The 1970 itself may show slight doubling, especially on the 7. And most importantly, there should be no mint mark beneath the date. If you see a small D, it's from Denver and not part of this rare group. But if it's blank, you might just have something extraordinary. Let's reset for a second. Because this isn't just about a penny. It's about the thrill of discovery, the idea that wealth and wonder can still hide in the simplest corners of everyday life. Somewhere out there, someone's got a jar of pennies sitting on a shelf, gathering dust. Inside that jar, there could be one coin that could retire them early. One penny that could rewrite their story. You're at a yard sale, digging through a box of old change someone's been trying to get rid of. You see that 1970 penny, brown, dull, nothing special. You toss it in your hand, about to hand it over, but something makes you look twice. You hold it to the light. You see that faint doubling. You look closer, no mint mark. Your heart starts racing. That's the moment every collector lives for. The discovery that could change everything. The beauty of coin collecting is that it rewards patience, curiosity, and attention to detail. And for those who take the time to look closely, the payoff can be beyond imagination. These rare 1970 no-mint mark pennies have become legends, not just because of their value, but because of what they represent, the idea that history can literally be held in your hand. When you look at one, you're not just seeing a coin. You're seeing a piece of America's story, a symbol of craftsmanship, imperfection, and hidden opportunity. And for the lucky few who found one, that little copper disc has become the ticket to a new life to SO. The next time you're sorting through spare change, don't rush. Take your time. Look closely at those dates, those small letters, those missing mint marks. Because it's not just about collecting coins. It's about finding treasures that everyone else overlooked. Maybe the next legendary find isn't sitting in a museum or an auction house. Maybe it's sitting in your kitchen drawer, waiting for you to notice it. Maybe your next coffee run or coin roll hunt will uncover something that turns into $1.7 million.